So I think this may shock a few people here, but I'm going to actually have AJ Brown as a sale. The wide receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, he is coming in to his age 28 season. You're looking at somebody who is obviously the wide receiver one for his team. And him and Jalen Hurts have some great rapport here. You're looking at last year, he had 67 receptions on 97 targets, 1,079 yards, and 7 touchdowns. That yards per route run of over 3 is insane. And you may be thinking, well, why would you sell him here then? What's the point? Um, this is a very interesting topic that comes up in fantasy football. It's a recurring cycle. You get these top wide receivers that they start to they're still producing at a high level, but their age starts to kind of creep up. And so you're wondering when that drop off is. One classic example of this, Matt's going to get a kick out of this when I say this. One classic example of this is Julio Jones. Okay. Julio Jones was amazing on the Falcons. He was a stud. Okay. He looked great. We were all like, okay, he's just gonna keep doing it year in, year out. He gets traded. We're like, oh man, he's got so much opportunity. Completely fell on his face, and he never looked the same after that. He was a very similar age to what AJ Brown is now. Now, we know that AJ Brown isn't changing team situation, but I feel like you're getting close to where his ceiling is as far as value goes. So I don't really think he's moving up higher than where I really have him at. So for me, if I look at my dynasty rankings, I currently have AJ Brown as my wide receiver 15. That's kind of where I have him at. So he's not even in my, wide receiver one range. Um, that being said, I think there are a lot of people who primarily play redraft who you could probably go out and sell AJ Brown, and you could get a Garrett Wilson,
Mhm.
a Drake London, Travis Hunter. If you're still in on Marv, which I am, you could go get Marvin, probably a big plus at this point. Lad, there are options there who are much younger who have showed that they can have the same production, maybe not the same explosiveness, but the same production and are much younger. This is a time where you want to sell before it's too late. I know that is a scary thing to do, and you're like, oh man, like I've got AJ Brown and he's my wide receiver too. Maybe you have another like Nico Collins or you have a Amon Ra or somebody. So he's the wide receiver two on your team. You're like, well, who am I going to go get that can give me that production and still be a superstar? And you have to remember these wide receivers, they come in and they go every year. And you've got these young guys that are just waiting to blow the top off. You've got Ladd, who looked great as a rookie, JSN, second year breakout. Everybody's projecting Drake London to be the next big thing this year
Mhm.
with Penix
He
coming
will
in.
be.
So I just think there are names that you can go get and get a plus on top of, if not just trade them straight up, that
Yeah.
I would much easily prefer at this point. How do you feel about it? Are you selling AJ Brown?
Yeah, I'm actually with you. And again, I think a lot of people are going to see the title, see the thumb. They're going to say, "What? Like AJ Brown's good." And don't hear what we're not saying. AJ Brown's going to be awesome this year. He's going to score a
Mhm.
bunch of fantasy points. He's going to be great. But like you said, Tyler, he's hitting that age point. He's 28 years old. You got to find a way to get off the ride at some point. And now is the perfect opportunity because he's going to be productive this upcoming season. And when we say move off of him, again, we're saying play within those tiers, find a way to get value or just even move up. If you want to use AJ Brown and say, I'm going to go all in, I'm going to push the chips in, and I'm going to go try and get a big name wide receiver, like maybe it is Drake London, who I would absolutely say, yeah, go buy him. Throw a plus on top of AJ Brown and push the chips in. Get younger,
Mhm.
get better, and try and continue to compete. Now, on the flip, you can also use him, like you said, to go find another piece. Maybe you tear down from a guy like AJ Brown to Tet McMillan or Roma Dunze, and you get a plus on top of that. There's probably a world where you can get, AJ Brown for Ladd McConkey or JSN in certain leagues. It's going to depend on how savvy your league really is. Just knowing that the age cliff is there. Because, like you said, he's 28 years old. This is going to be a big year for him. He's going to produce. He'll have a great season. But what happens going forward? The other thing is we have to remember that Hurts, I personally don't believe he's that developed as a passer. I think he's adequate. He's just fine. But when you go back and watch the games, you look at the stats, it's not anything that's going to blow you away. Hurts's fantasy production is hinged upon his rushing ability, not his passing ability. I mean, last year he had 248 completions on 361 attempts. We were just talking about how Dak threw the ball almost 600 times. Like the pie is not the same. We're talking about two totally different animals. You add the fact that Saquon Barkley's still in town, I think that this team's going to continue to lean on the run because that's what they're good at, and they should. But again, Jalen Hurts, 18 passing touchdowns last year, 23 the year before that. He's never thrown for 30 passing touchdowns. He's never thrown for more than 25 passing touchdowns. So, I don't want to focus too much on Hurts, but that matters when we're talking about, well, what can A.J. Brown do? Past 2 years, both years, he's had 7 reception touchdowns. That's fine. That's great. But paired with the volume there, I mean, he had 97 targets. He didn't even eclipse 100 targets. I understand he only played 13 games, so we'll factor that in. But the year before that, when he played when he played 17 games, he had 158 targets, which is great. But I don't necessarily think that that's going to be something that can repeat because he is getting older. Father Time is undefeated. You mentioned Julio Jones fall off, Tyreek Hill's fall off. There's all sorts of wide receivers we could talk about where eventually that age cliff hits, and you don't want to be holding the bag when it does happen. So now's a great time to use him to move him and still get someone who's going to provide equal or better fantasy production for your team right now and in the future. Because you can go find names. You mentioned Garrett Wilson. That's another great one. People are kind of low on Garrett Wilson right now. I know Coach is buying him all over the dang place. But if you can use A.J. Brown to go get a guy like Garrett Wilson, you got younger and you got arguably more opportunity. Like I can sit here and critique Justin Fields passing, but we know this. Garrett Wilson has had all the opportunity in the world his entire career so far. I mean, go look at his targets, and it's insane. And that's not going to change this year. He is the guy in New York. So I think that it's the time to think about moving A.J. Brown, go find some other players to provide equal opportunity or get some more youth on your roster right now before it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. I was curious just because I knew that I had drafted Julio in that league we were talking about earlier. So Julio's last elite season, he was the wide receiver 3. That was in 2019, which would make that 6 years ago. And that means that he fell off at 30. And that is he had one more season in Atlanta after that and was then traded 3 different times to 3 different teams. And so it's just a tale of caution. Just be careful as you get these age cliff guys. I know he's still on contract. I think Chris brought it up. He's still in his prime. I think Chris said he had 2 more years here and has no signs of slowing down. We did see the injuries for Julio. Yeah, we did see that. So, but who says that it doesn't happen now?
Mm-hmm. A.J. Brown missed 5 games last year, so we can't look past that. And they're all lower leg related too. Thigh hamstring strains, knee strains, calf strains, like all that matters. Now, I know earlier in his career, in like 2021, he had the whole like chest or maybe a pectoral strain or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but he has had multiple thigh, knee, and calf strains throughout his career. And that's going to happen. It's to be expected. A lot of players are going to miss time. But I don't think it's fair to say that he's not showing signs of regression. I mean, don't hear what we're not saying. The production will be there on the field this year. But again, he's 28. Like, it's going to fall off at some point. And once that value turns, there ain't no going back.
Once they start going downhill, it goes downhill quick, and it does not stop. We look at Tyreek Hill. You brought him up. That's a great name to mention. Maybe he gets back to it this year and proves us wrong. But as of right now, I think we're looking at 2 years. I know at least last year for sure, maybe 2 years at this point, where his production is just slowly weaned down from his days as a Chief. So we'll see what it looks like. We're not saying that A.J. Brown is bad for redraft this year. Just saying be cautious, possibly look to start selling him and get some younger assets.
Yeah, because now it's the perfect opportunity where you can avoid even losing the trade. If you take A.J. Brown and you move him for one of the big-name wide receivers, pick one that we've said, whether it's a tier up or tier down, you're not really going to miss that much production or necessarily have any chances that you're taking. Now, if you go get a guy like Tet, you're rolling the dice. That's a rookie. Yep. We've never seen him play. But if you go get a guy like Garrett Wilson, JSN, Ladd McConkey, they've all done it already. So it's not like you're you're risking it all, or you're saying, I don't know what I'm getting. You're getting a known quantity, and that's valuable still, because again, in Dynasty, it's all about the youth. It's all about continuing to be able to put out that roster, to compete, because the goal is to not have to rebuild. Now, occasionally you're going to have to, but if you manage your team right, you don't ever have to rebuild. You just keep retooling these players, stay young, find the value where you can, and play within those tiers.